All right, everybody, want to take a second to talk to you about an amazing sponsor. We have an amazing relationship with RayAllen.com. Ray Allen is a one-stop shop for everything dog, not just working dogs. Everything dog that you need, you can go down there, check them out, RayAllen.com. Awesome people. They got everything you need.
Another one of our favorite partnerships is with a dog trainer. They've been with us from the start. Great collars, great ball poppers, great GPS tracking, big dog, small dog, bark collars, everything. I got everything like that they have at the kennel. We use it every day. Be sure to head them up, dogtrainer.com. Listen for the discount code later in the episode.
Hey guys, it's going to happen. August 16th through the 19th. HITS is coming back. The HITS K9 Conference in Orlando, Florida, August 16th through the 19th. Get on there. It's the biggest, the best. Check it out. HitsK9.net. HitsK9.net. Get registered now.
Take the guesswork out of making sure you're feeding your working dog correctly by using Kinetic dog food. Hit them up at kineticdogfood.com and look them up on the Instagrams at Kinetic Dog Food. Take all the guesswork out and do it right from the beginning.
We love Horizon Structures. Dude, this stuff is so awesome, man. You can get online. You can talk to them. You could build it you want from mild to wild. They'll come bring it to your place, set it down on your pad, hook up your power, hook up your water, and you can put dogs in it that day. If you don't believe me, check out some guys like Justin Rigney's got a great setup there. Ask him. Check him out, horizonstructures.com. All right, everybody, Working Dog Radio. We are back broadcasting The Bite. Another great episode coming at you in our series of what guys can do when they retire. My name is Eric Stanbro, of course. I'm from Canton, Ohio. With me, as always, is my co-host from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Ted Summers. Ted, what's going on over there?
Oklahoma is like throwing out temperatures like Powerball numbers. I mean, it was 75 degrees yesterday. The wind chill right now is like 13. So, yeah, and we're, so everyone that's been listening, like I'm in the middle of a build out phase on the kennel, and we've got the concrete guys there polishing the concrete. We had to break a bunch of concrete up yesterday, and it sucked. So I basically did a CrossFit workout for 3 hours with a giant fucking sledgehammer. It was terrible. And then I went tracking in heavy wind, like super heavy wind, and went tracking this morning in super heavy wind, but from the north instead of from the south. And then did some detection work. The concrete guys came back this afternoon. I didn't know they were going to come, and to seal the floor. And we had done some detection work, and one of the dogs ripped his toenail off, and one of them cut his pad, so it looked like the OJ crime scene. And my landlord freaked out and was like, "What in the hell happened in here?" I was like, "Well, you see what had happened was," and I was like, "Just seal
Dogs
over it.
bleed.
It'll be cool." Yeah, I was like, and he's like, "No, we're not sealing over blood." I'm like, "Why not?" It was like, it won't affect it, right? And he was like, no. And then I got told also we can't have pet clients seeing blood all over the floor. I was like, okay, that's fine. But there's blood everywhere. If you're looking at my Instagram story from today, you can see there's blood everywhere.
I did see that now that I think about it. Yeah.
it looked pretty rough. So, we've been kind of scrambling, like tracking in between shitty weather windows and then doing detection work and some of the other stuff when the weather gets shitty. Like it's supposed to like freeze or I don't know, do something tonight that's not pleasant. So other than that, we got a bunch of pets still. I'm like moving them around because they're working on the floors. So it's like musical dogs, like in crates, in kennels, and big runs and outside runs, and then back into a kennel and then into a car. And it's just a fucking nightmare. So it'll be nice when it's done though. We're getting close. So what about you? What's going on up there?
So excuse me. I made contact. I got through people with a pretty large agency in Maryland, and 20 dog unit, and they came up yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Test dogs. They needed 3. I had 3, and they came up, and I do things a little bit differently when an agency comes up and they're highly recommended that their trainers know what they're doing. I give them a lot of freedom when they're testing dogs. Like I'll say, okay, the dogs you want to test are in these positions in my van, back left, back right, middle, side, whatever. All the dogs I have are real biddable for other people to grab and train. And I said, just go do your thing. I'll be over here in this other part of the building. You got any questions about a certain dog? I don't hide anything. You're going to see what you want to see or don't see what you want to see. And then I got dogs to train. So me and Jordan are over here working, and So they came up that that type of unit. They came up. They had gone someplace where they were told, you're not allowed to touch my dogs. No leash for you. No decoy for you. No nothing. You will stand here and watch. So they came to me and we hit it off real well. They did really good. The 3 dogs I have are really good. They took 2 of them. The other one is this shepherd I have named Robic. And we talked about him before that I got Robic from a guy down in North Carolina. He was imported him, and he is
The big
my
one,
new
right?
favorite term is he's an apex predator. When he hits the street, he's going to be that dog. He's social too. Like you can deal with him, but he's difficult to hold on to. Not for me, but the 2 trainers were like, dude, our handler is 105 pounds. And he's like, I'm 170 and I'm barely holding on to this dog. So I've had another agency that looked at him too, like he's the best dog you have, but our guy's 140 pounds. I'm like, oh, tell him to hit the gym. But they're listening to us going, yeah. But so they took 2. It was great, but I like those relationships because a 20 dog unit is going to replace dogs 3 or 4 every year, perpetually, forever. It's just the way that works. So I got more dogs I'll get them that 3rd dog. It's not going to be a problem. They got a little bit of time. I got some floppies coming in a couple of weeks. I haven't had floppies in a minute. So get some Springer Spaniels coming in. That should be interesting. Should be fun. A little bit of a break, but yeah, we've been plugging away. A lot of tactical stuff going on at the fun house. A lot of SWAT teams coming. A lot of civilian classes going on there. We're getting a sponsorship, banner sponsorship and stuff going to start coming. That building is just offers so much buffoonery that the instructors can put on the guys there, and it's a good time. There's a huge medical class they're coming there Thursday, SWAT team medical class, and they thought they were going to land a bird in the parking lot. And I'm like, listen, as cool as that would be, and I'd love to be here to watch, there's no fucking way you're going to get a life flight helicopter in this parking lot. There's wires all over the place. There'll be 30 cars here. They came out and they're like, yeah, we didn't really sight inspect very well. So
we didn't think about this.
There's a big, huge open lot right around the corner. They're going to use that. So that should be pretty cool. The funny thing with me, man, is so I'm going to Georgia in middle of March to do some training. I have to plan the amount of dogs I have in my kennel and the sales and everything to empty it before I leave. Anytime I go out of town, I have to empty the kennel first because I don't have any help. I have no assistance. It's me. And so I can't leave 4 or 5 dogs in there for somebody to come and break. And it's just not going to happen. So I'm hoping there's an agency in Tennessee going to look at Robic next week. And then I have a single purpose female Mal that I don't know what I'm going to do with yet. We'll see. So, but anyways, what do we got going on tonight?
Well, tonight our guest, we've had on before, like we were just talking before we started recording, and we were trying to remember what episode it was. It's like back in the single digits. It's like way back, back in the day, back when we were at Bravo 3. And then it was on Hits again too. So in the whole like spirit of guys doing stuff after they leave the institution, or they leave working for assholes, that we were like, oh, let's have Jason back on because he's doing something cool. And a lot's happened since we had him back on last. So tonight from Project K9 Hero is Jason Johnson. Jason, how are you?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on one more time.
Yeah, so like I know you, I've met you in person, friend of mine, like great dude, and I know your resume, but I was reading through it again. I'm like, fuck, I'm not gonna remember all this. So just give us a rundown real quick, because there's like the alphabet soup agencies in there, and I'm like, I'm gonna forget one. So just give us like a quick rundown real quick, and then we'll like kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I started in the United States Army in 1993, served as a military police officer until 98, got out, wanted to be a SWAT K9 guy, so I worked really hard at working on that. 99, joined PLPD, South Hill area of Tacoma, Washington. Started coring for the Pierce County Metro K9 unit out there. You know how it is, trying to get in the unit, putting on the bite suit, laying tracks, just doing whatever you can to donate your time. Did a transfer over to Yakima PD in 2003, and they didn't have a narcotics K9 unit. And I put in a couple hundred hours of time, of trying to get in the K9 unit. And I got out of the Army. I was only 23 years old, so I'm still in the early 20s stage here, trying to do my thing, and was able to handle their first narcotics K9 dog. Ended up being assigned to 2 drug task force there. DA task force, had a lot of deployments, a lot of fines. My dog Flash, who ended up being the 2018 Law Enforcement Dog of the Year, had 3,000 deployments, 2,200 fines there during her career. 2008, though, I left her behind for a little bit. Got recruited by Blackwater. Was working on my own company at the time called K9 Solutions Northwest. I was doing 8 different school contracts, drugs in the schools, firearms in the schools, explosive dogs. And I wanted the opportunity to go overseas and, further that explosive dog experience. I really felt that was the future of the K9 career in the early 2000s, after 2001. And I was working on my education, my master's degree at the time. So I thought, man, I'm going to quit this SWAT K9 gig that I worked so hard to get. And so many of us have worked hard to get in the past. And I went to Iraq, did 3 tours there, became a kennel master with Blackwater, went on to do the elections in Iraq in 2008, stayed with the company in 2009, went to Afghanistan, worked for the Ambassador Eikenberry's detail, did the elections there in 2009, was one of the primary dog handlers used there, and got an offer from ATF in 2010 to come back front row Virginia to be an instructor. I ended up being the lead instructor there. And if you guys know about the ATF, we got FBI, CIA, US Marshals, NGA, all those types of things, not to mention the accelerant program, which is all across the nation. I think we got a dog in Tulsa that I went out certified before. We've got, we did the military working dog pre-deployment course in Yuma, Arizona, Creech Air Force Base. I worked with over 1,200 working dogs through 2010 to 15 before their deployments, and helped with the SEEK program, which is the ATF's off-leash explosive dog program. And I taught a few of those until I kind of wanted to get back operational back around 2016. So I went back to over to Homeland Security, was a Field Canine Coordinator. That's where you have your dogs you see in the airport, your passenger screening dogs, as well as your law enforcement dogs that are assigned in and around the airport areas. Eric, I covered a good portion of Ohio, dogs in Columbus, dogs in Dayton, all were assigned under me there, if you know those guys. Did the RNC. I came down, did the RNC, had quite a few dogs under me there. I worked the airport for the RNC. I think that probably 2016. And I think we had 100 and something dogs there. And, when I had that position, handlers would come to me and say, hey, Jason, I talked to the vet, my dog's getting old. It's, say, I think it's time to retire. It's got this hip issue, whatever it may be. And I would say, no problem. And I would assign them to a new canine course down at Lackland. I'd give them the paperwork, say, congratulations, you're keeping your dog. At that moment, I also took them out of federal funding. And right when they needed our help the most in retirement, I became the guy to remove them from getting help. And I didn't think that was right. So I wanted to do something based on that entire career that I just spoke about. I think it's around 2,200 working dogs across the world that I helped train at all levels. And I wanted to give back. So I started Project K9 Hero. And I thought we're going to help them with their medical care, their food, their death benefit assistance, rehabilitation, rehoming. And, I stayed in the government that first year. You guys probably didn't know me in 16 and stuff because I was still a government employee. But in January 17, I quit and I started doing this full time. I took $500 in my pocket at 16 and just thought, hey, let's just start spreading awareness, doing the best I can. And in 17, we did about 500,000 at the organization. On to over $1 million this past year, and just 5 years up, we're at the 3.5 million mark. I'm hoping to reach over 5 this year, and we have 177 beautiful acres here in Tennessee. Rehabilitation for homing kennels. We're building permanent ones. I know some of you guys seen those. I've got full kennels here of military working dogs. We got some on the way. We just adopted one on Friday. We got police canines. We got ones with aggression issues, ones that the handler couldn't keep them for various reasons. That's about 10% of the dogs we take care of. And the other 90 stay with their handlers, guys like you've trained, guys who, maybe you've trained a dog, and I'm sure we've got some in the program that you guys are associated with and need help with that medical bill. So, those are the types of things we're doing. Of course, it goes in a lot more depth than that, but that's just a brief overview of what the organization is about and what my background in the military, civilian, police, and government and overseas contracting was.
All right. He said the entire thing without taking a breath.
I know. I was
from
like,
go.
Well, I read through there and I was like, God, damn it, there's a ton of like acronyms in here, and I'm gonna forget something, and because it's all kind of important. So I was like, I'm just gonna have him do it because I was gonna read it. I was like, oh, so he did this and this. I'm like, I don't fucking remember.
I remember hanging out with Jason at the bar in Vegas
Yeah.
at the casino, and we're just sitting down there bullshitting, having a drink, and he was really getting in deep into the ATF stuff, and I'm like, wow, I don't think I've done shit in this business at this point. You know, so it was pretty cool, man. And stuff with TSA and all that stuff. It was pretty. He even left out a lot of that. There's just so much stuff he's done. I want to go all the way back to when you were still a cop and you were starting the business.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you're doing the schools. You got the business going.
Yeah.
So I want to have you talk about to that, because I've got guys that have asked me about starting that kind of company business, some civilian guys, some cops, because in Ohio, from what I've seen, and I've been around a long time in here with dogs, that's not a thing in Ohio. Every agency just does the school sniffs for people. Schools here never pay for it. There's a company here that I think does it, and the guy who owns the company got convicted of calling in fake bomb threats to get his dogs work and that type of shit. So it's not really much of a thing.
Fucking
here.
boiler room canine.
Right. So how do people kind of approach that? How does that work?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. So about 2005, and I had right after that, I got my instructor certification with the Washington State Police Canine Association, if you guys know who they are. And the bigger organizations like USPCA and NAPWATER weren't in the Northwest at the time. I'm not really sure of their presence up there now because I'm not out there anymore, but they certainly weren't out there, and the WSPCA was the biggest. So, I got my trainer cert. I had started having principals come to me. I'm still in black and white. I'm still on patrol, but I'm assigned to DHS task force and I'm on SWAT. So, I'm doing a lot of search warrants. I'm doing a lot of different things. And the principals were like, hey, could we come to the school, sweep the schools? But they kind of wanted some things on their terms. And quite honestly, my department just wasn't comfortable with it. They're like, no, he's busy. Out here doing things. And I wanted to do it because, as a dog handler, you want to go and get as many fines as you can. But they didn't really want me to do it. I said, well, what if I just started my own side business? I'm already training dogs on the side. What if I just trained up 3 or 4 narcotics dogs? Well, we did some firearms detection dogs, and we did an explosive dog. And then I did that, and I went out to these schools, and I started getting my first contracts in about 2006. I got 8 contracts. I had a couple off-duty handlers, state patrol guys, deputy sheriff guys, city guys, handling dogs. At the time, I was paying about $50 an hour. And while I was at work, we were going out filling these 4 6-hour different sweeps contracts through that. And I thought, man, this is really great. But, if I'm ever going to get to the places I told you I wanted to be or where I ended up, I knew being an Army MP and a police SWAT canine guys, they're in every town. Let's just be honest. I mean, they're in every city in America. That's nothing special. Running a business, even though I was an active, police canine handler, still people do that. I wanted to do something more. And then that's when I got that recruitment from Blackwater to go overseas and work for the ambassadors explosive dog handler. So, you know what, that's the best. That's the top right there. It's the top explosive guy in the world right there. So when not only did I leave behind the department, this was in 2008, leave behind the apartment, my dog, all that stuff. I had to end all those contracts and take that one big contract in the sky and go make the most out of it.
Was there trepidation? You just said, I'm jumping in with both feet?
No, it was scary because you hear a lot of rumors of guys not making it through Blackwater. It was a 21-day vetting process on the personal security program, and it was a weak canine. And you hear Rangers and SEALs and SF guys not making it. And even though I was on SWAT and MP, that don't mean shit, right? I mean, like I said, until you get down there. So I took 30 days vacation. I talked to my admin. I said, hey, I got this opportunity. Don't want to quit. I just want to take 30 days leave and see if I go down and make it and get a job offer. And I went down and I made it through everything. And I replaced a legendary kennel master in Al Hilal, Iraq, named Chuck Medford. I ended up becoming a kennel master down there before I left. And to this day, I don't know if you know this because it's happened over the last few years, but I'm actually the current president of the Blackwater Alumni Association. We have over 1,000 members, and I'm still doing that as another nonprofit. Someone else have started. I've taken it over the last year or so, but so I'm involved in that, and that's helping guys. We're losing 5 or 6 guys a year to suicide. You know, they're all ex-military, they're all ex-police, they're all ex-special operations. So we're also involved in that here on my end as helping with them.
That's really cool, man. I never even knew there was that Blackwater Alumni Association. Is that East Coast based?
No, it's nationally based. This year we're having our reunion. I don't want to disclose it publicly, but we're having our reunion in the state of Texas, and you know, we even got Mr. Prince, our old boss, as our guest speaker.
Awesome.
We've had Mark Osgeist come out as our guest speaker. You know, we raise money to help a lot of guys fall in hard times, whether a family member die, your house get burned in a fire, anything like that happens. We have funds readily available I can send to you today to help take care of a bill you or your family may have, so you don't fall in hard times. And that's what it's all about.
Dude, when Mr. Prince comes out, that place is gonna go fucking ape shit.
I hope so. I've been trying to get him for a couple of years, and you know, he was our boss. He was our boss, and you know, he's a former Navy SEAL. And I'm sure you guys know all about him.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we all enjoyed working for him. He was a great boss. And there's a lot of rumors over the years that go around about Blackwater and things. But I'll tell you, as a dog handler, I'll just speak as a dog handler. I couldn't imagine more experience in the world. I don't care anywhere in the world during that time. I was doing sweeps outside the wire for, you know, if the ambassador was going to go meet with the Minister of Oil, I would show up with my advanced team, I'd sweep the parking lot, sweep the meeting room, sweep the break room, had 100% control over whether we were doing this or not. Gave it nothing detected, and they went about their business. At times we found things, we just called the meeting, went about our day somewhere else. The days I do 6 to 8 missions a day, all over the country, rolling out, not with an army, not with like a bunch of dudes, sometimes just me and another canine guy and our 2 dogs and all of our weapons. So if you want everyone to test yourself, I mean, those days are gone, unfortunately. But at that time, I knew when I took my job at ATF, and I started at ATF as GS-13, which is a pretty high government rank. And of course, I was a contracting, making really good money as a dog handler. So I did take a huge pay cut, but we all know that contracting money doesn't stay forever. And I knew starting as a GS-13, the government was the thing I needed to do, because I knew if I got that job in Front Royal and I started training the CIA and the FBI and the Marshals, that's experience that no one's ever going to be take away from you. And I could always go back to contracting. And just like Eric, when we were talking about the police, when I went to Blackwater, I said, I can always go back to being a police officer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've never had to do any of those things.
Right. So before we take our first break, let's go back to Blackwater in Iraq. What kind of dogs are you using? Everybody always wants to know.
Yeah, well, I know all my dogs. I handle quite a bit. I handled 6 when I was in Al-Hela. If I can remember all the names. The most famous was Big Fuzz, K9 Uran. On contract, they're supposed to be single-purpose explosive dogs, but they were trained by the guys at Virginia Beach. You might know some of them, PD guys at Virginia Beach. And I think they're all procured for dual purpose. There were other contracts before the contract I was on, so without disclosing the name of the contract, which is one of the most popular ones there, they had dual purpose needs. So they just kind of transitioned, but they were all not on paper protection, you know, explosive detection, but they all had it capable if it came down to it, every single one of them.
Back when they were still using pointy ears. So
oh yeah, we you know, there were some up in Baghdad. We in I think 1 or 2 in Afghan. They had some labs. I never worked a lab over there. I had Czech Shepherd, I had a couple Mals, and a couple of German Shepherds. I think I worked a total of certified and worked a total of 7 dogs when I was there with the company.
Wow, that's awesome. That's crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're gonna dive into the contracting world, not so much as working a contract like Blackwater, more into the providing dogs for contracts and how to do it and the pitfalls and things to avoid and the actual truth versus myths of what that kind of stuff's actually like. So don't go anywhere. In the show notes will be the discount codes if you miss them, but we'll be right back.
HITS K9 Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar, packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait, because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots, and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS K9, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company, kineticdogfood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. kineticdogfood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Turn by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, it comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. Vetcare.us on the internet. Quick Derm by Vet Care on on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department and the departments that I trained all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American aluminum accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, that's the letter Z, ezrideronline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American aluminum kennel in the back of the car. Check them out online, guys. EasyRiderOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your patrol car, get a hold of them, American aluminum accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland K9 Training, Jason and Aaron Ferguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police K9 Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Back with Jason Johnson from Project K9 and Hero. We were just talking about kind of your background and doing the whole Blackwater thing, contracting. So one of the things that we've sort of talked about in the past when you've been on, and we kind of hit on it a little bit. I remember one episode we talked about, like, you know, how you screened dogs for TSA, right? And because it's one, every time we do a question and answer episode, the one question that always comes up is, what do you look for in dog selection? Like everybody's got the fucking secret sauce. Like every department, it's crazy watching departments test dogs, and dudes like Eric was talking about at the beginning of the episode, like he's like, well, I mean, here you're gonna see what you want to see, and you're not gonna see what you don't want to see. So whatever you want, right? So, and everybody's got like this fucking secret method or something. We're not gonna talk about that though, because it seems like that always comes up. But one thing we do want to talk about is the contracting side. So I think a lot of guys that are handlers in the military or in law enforcement, for that matter, have like this, I don't know, like this romantic idea about getting out and being like, fuck, I'm going to go get this giant contract. I'm going to make millions of dollars. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to train dogs all day. I'm going to run around in cries in a t-shirt and a sleeveless t-shirt and laugh at everybody else that has to wear fucking fatigues and be like, and I'm gonna get to work and play with dogs all day and make a shit ton of money doing it. I'm gonna fly private jets. I'm gonna be popping bottles and I'm gonna be shooting the shit with Kanye. And that's not what happens. So it's interesting because I hear a lot of times, I hear people tell me all the time, I get emails, I'm sure Eric, you do too, like, oh, I've got a government contract. I'm like, I bet you do. I'm like, I'm sure you do. And we've had those guys on, including you, that it was those contracts, right? Like we've had on Paul Hammond. We've had on people that have had like parts of those contracts or in parts of those contracts, and they are massive fucking operations. And the amount of outlay that requires you to get into that business is, I don't even have a funny analogy. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. So talk a little bit about the canine contracting world and what, like, kind of address some of the biggest myths and some of the not myths. And if guys are dead set on working in the contracting side, because like you said, that contracting money is great, but it doesn't last forever. Give guys some like, look, this is what you need to do. Like, go work for these people, not necessarily name them, but you can like go find these companies and this is what you want to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, there are companies out there that have these contracts and they're big companies. I've done it from everywhere on my own to being a director of operations or a director for several of the large ones. Either way can be successful, but you got to have that capital. I remember when I won my first overseas Iraq contract, I think Eric texted me the next day. He's like, it was the Blot Air Force Base contract. Mm-hmm. It's the second largest next to the embassy. And I beat out the largest canine company in the world when I got it. And I was pretty excited. And Eric's like, did you win the Blot contract? Well, I sure did. And, even that, I went through all the motions. And because of my lack of not being a large corporate entity and competing against the largest corporate entity in the world in that business, I couldn't get my business license in that country to pass through in the deadline I needed it to. Now, why? I don't know. I can't say for sure. I can say I applied. I can say I put it in. A lot of people told me what I needed to do to get it passed, but I had to be ethical because I have these other businesses. I have my name and reputation here. And at no time can one person like me, regardless how successful you may be, compete with a conglomerate like that. No, you know what I mean? You can't just show up with a bag of money. So you give them one bag of money to another government so you can get your business license. What if they just give a bigger bag of money? And that's not a game I could play. So I ended up I worked up that whole thing. I know Eric knows a little bit about it, but I worked up the dogs. I bought the dogs. I got the train. I did everything I needed to do, but I couldn't show up because I didn't get that business license by the deadline date I needed it. I can tell you, looking back over the years on that, I have no idea what I could have done differently to be successful in that. Maybe ask for a longer time from the contract when it started. Say, hey, I need more than 60 days. I need 120 days. Maybe I asked for different things, but I'm just saying at that time, no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, not everything is possible. It seems so. People need to realize that. Now, when we talk about where I think at one point, minus the use of SOC, because those are how I've been with one vendor for a while. Now they're with a new vendor. But TSA, Customs Border Patrol, USDA, the DOD, I've at one time procured for or supplied dogs as a director or an employee, and all of those. And they're tough. They're very tough because those statement of works are designed to weed out. And you can study them and you can get a good environmental setup. And just going back to procuring dogs, when I was at ATF, I was in charge of procurement there. I helped write the procurement policy. I usually teach at some of these conferences procurement. That's probably the one thing I'm comfortable teaching in front of anybody. Environmental confidence is number one. It's the biggest thing we fail dogs out for in all levels of government. So being a guy who was, when he was in the ATF, selected dogs from vendors, I knew what I would do to test. So then I went from being a guy who was supplying dogs to the government. So I'd like to think I knew, more than the average Joe on what I was supposed to be doing. It's still difficult because that selection official is not going to share with you, hey, I know we did an order for 10, but man, I only really need 3. Eric knows this when he goes overseas. I only really need 3. He might show me 20. I'm only taking 3. But they asked me to bring 10. So I have 10 ready that you paid for up front, that you put a lot of time in getting to the statement of work, and then they take 3. Okay, so 3 would be lucky for you to even come close to breaking even. Now you have 7 dogs you got to figure out what you're going to do with. And so regardless of how good you are, regardless of how expert you may have, and if you don't have outlets for those dogs, you're going to eat that cost. And not mention you have to upfront all that cost along the way and that time. So, in my professional opinion, I stay away from that business now. I stay away from all that business. I don't see a big future in it because that's the way they've set up these contracts. They're not really set up for a business of our size, anything that all of us here do and people in our networks do, to be largely successful. And that's my professional opinion. So I would caution somebody, hey, you really got it. I mean, I've even had businesses where we've had, I wouldn't say endless capital, but we had the capital to make, if I need to go buy 20 dogs, we could buy 20 dogs. And I had the van and the truck and the personnel and the environment and the setup, and it's still very difficult to do. Having that said, if someone wants to get into it, and I'm sure you guys know on FedBiz Ops, all these contracts are posted. And, I've had a lot of experience in writing and winning contracts. So you really got to get that down. That starts with your background, not only personal, your company background. What's your facility like? What's your experience like? All these things for you to win the contract, your capabilities, and then past performance comes into play. If you haven't had a contract before, these guys who think they might go out and win a big contract, if you don't have the past performance to show the government you've already been successful, it's going to be hard to do.
So I remember when I asked you that and you told me you'd won that contract, it gave me anxiety and it had nothing to do with me. Because the one thing you did touch on that a lot of people don't know is they don't front you the money. They're not going, here, you won the contract. This is what you quoted us per dog. We'll give you that now. You go buy the dogs, deliver them when they're done.
Yeah. And mine was a services contract with handlers. Mine was a services with handlers.
Right. And Ted and I have talked about this several times, and we've talked about it with other guests on the podcast where, if you're a smaller kennel and you get 1 or 2, say you sell a couple dogs and they get returned to you and you have to replace them. So maybe there's a medical problem or there's a performance problem. You have to replace them. That will put you out of business if you're small. Just 1 or 2 dogs. If you're a small kennel without capital, imagine, like you said, buying 10 dogs and they come back and then the contract government or whatever agency takes 3. You have 7 dogs and no one knows you. You know what I mean? And it's so frustrating and difficult. And how often does those government agencies just change their mind or pull contracts at the last minute?
Well, we try to keep them, and I've argued with them over the years, the selection officials, that, hey, this is what your statement of work says. You're not even doing. I had a dog fail, which I thought was just a great detection dog. As we know, hunt, air scent, prey, and retrieve are the guys we're looking for in detection. This dog was off the charts and all that, off the charts in environmental confidence. And my last thing is sociability. Great dog. I was selected all day long if I was still in the government. Failed it because when they had a tennis ball in a grassy area, it's supposed to be a high grass area, said it used its eyes to find the ball. Now I said, well, your statement of work says it's a high grass area. And they said, we can't control that because they mow the lawn here. I said, well, why don't we put them in a trailer and then we'll take them to a high grass area, just like the statement of work says.
That shit grows everywhere, right?
Exactly. They're like, well, we don't have the time for that, So here I've got what I would call, Eric, a perfect dog, a sale for $14,400 on my hands that I've now taken back because he's so smart. He saw the ball and he looked up his head and he grabbed it and used his eyes. And it was just an unfair assessment. Or I used to get them a lot of problems with the loud noises. You can sit there from 10 feet and you can bang a bucket once. Okay, well, maybe the trainer didn't like that. You know what? I think I saw a little something. I'm going to bang it. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to bang it 2 or 3 more times. I'm just going to keep doing that till the dog maybe even shuts down. So is the standard to stand from 10 feet and bang it once and see what happens? Or can you just keep doing it until you see the reaction you want to fail it?
Yeah, throw the bucket at him.
But my point is,
fucking hit him with it.
Yeah.
There's no, and here we are, we're training and we're trying to sell dogs to our vendors. Like, man, this is a good dog. I got this one ready. And then, oh, that's a failure. So it's a frustrating thing. But what I'm saying is nobody I know of can overcome that. Just don't think you can. You can't overcome it, not ethically and morally. So you got to prepare for that. There's a lot, I was a part of the cargo screening program as a certifying company. And I haven't done a certification this date because the way they set it up, they let the company set the prices. Well, my guys let's just say if Eric, you worked for me, I would want to pay you $500 a day. That's what your time's worth, 8 hours certification. I need to pay Eric $500 a day, but he needs travel, per diem, hotel, car rental, everything. Okay, we add all that up. Even if we did the smallest amount of company G&A over it, maybe we're 10%, right? That comes to a price, and that price is just too much for him. And I was like, well, that's the price. I mean, there is no other price. This is what I have to pay to send somebody. These are all the costs. It's very upfront. It's all on pay, it's all right there. And every company said we were overpriced. So I had in the couple of years that's been out, I just let my stuff expire and I didn't do one. I thought to myself, well, one day if they need another company because whatever they got's not working, but I'm not going to change, what our prices are. I mean, because you can't make no money in business if you don't stick to your pricing.
So there's a lot of people listening right now. They have no idea what you're talking about with the third-party cargo screeners. Can you break it down? Because there's different factions of it. There's certifiers, there's trainers, there's all kinds of stuff. Or what it was supposed to be anyways. Yeah.
So it's a third-party cargo program, K9 program through TSA and Homeland Security. Basically, the reason I was more involved when I was still in the government, it was starting to kick off, and I was in charge of let's just say the dogs at Detroit Airport. And they screened passengers, and the police officers screened the baggage out on the curb and baggage claims, suspicious items, and all that. But they really didn't have all the time to go do the cargo, the Delta terminal and the UPS terminal. So the government's like, hey, if you guys want that done, you guys need to pay people to do that. And so there was some collaboration on bringing in a third party, independent, K9 certified officials. But then the government's like, well, if you're going to do that, we need to have control over what the certification is, what their training is like. And I don't blame them, right? You want to have some standards that it's going to meet. There's supposed to be some laws that were coming out. It says X number % of all cargo needs to be screened for explosive before it gets on these types of flights. That's been obviously delayed a little bit because of COVID, but I think they'll still get to all the numbers they wanted to. So it was built up to be the program was going to be a lot bigger. And I had an opportunity when that was kicking out. Do you want to get on the, you only can be on one or the other if you're a company. You can be on the side that supplies dog teams and searches cargo, or you can be on the side that certifies teams and does that independently. So they were going to let, because the government's like, we don't have enough people to certify these, we're going to need independent certifiers too. And so I think on the first initial classes, about 33 people went through, maybe 12 companies. I was a part of 3 of the 12, either in ownership or co-ownership. And, it started to kick off, and it just never really, it's out there now, but I just never felt there's a lot of money. Now, if you're a handler and you go get a dog and you're working for the company's maybe making $26 an hour and you're just getting your hourly rate, that's great. I mean, if you're happy with that, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, because that opportunity absolutely exists in all of these airports across America. But if you're business owners like us and you're trying to maintain a business and then jump through these government hoops, like, you got to have a body cam on and everything needs to be recorded and all these things need to be uploaded and all these other hoops they want you to do, they make it really hard for you to be a profitable organization.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm sitting here listening to this, and a lot of times I hear dudes get really disillusioned because they're coming out of whatever, like pick an organization, and they have the Kevin Costner syndrome. Like, if you build it, they will come. And I'm like, that's not how this works. And it very much is a business. Now, while all of us are sitting here talking, and a lot of people listening to this are very talented, gifted trainers in their own right. That is not enough. Like, it's just not. And you have to be very savvy with business. I can think of several people that are local to me, well, local-ish, whatever, within like a couple hours, that handled forever in a police department, got out, and just assumed that because I was a handler in law enforcement, that money and booze and women are just going to rain from the sky. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden they're like, oh, fuck, I'm in the civilian world, I'm in the business world. And I'm like, yeah, nobody knows who the fuck you are. Nobody cares either. I'm like, welcome to the dark side. Now you have to be good, like, and you have to be smart, and you have to know how business works. Eric said this a long time ago, that this industry is about relationships. It's about who you know, right? And on the law enforcement side, right, like County B goes to County C and says, hey, where'd you get your dog? We like your dog, right? We've done some mutual aid calls. Dogs look great. So, County C's like, oh, we went to Goofball Canine over here, and that's where they go, right? I mean, I don't know any better. I mean, they're admins, like, they don't care. They're like, oh, well, if it works for them, it'll work for us. I don't care. And it is very much, it has absolutely. And a lot of dudes come out and they're like, I'm a really good trainer. I'm like, I'm sure you are. Like, go work for somebody that needs a really good trainer then, that already has the business established. And because that, then focus on training. Because I mean, that's the thing. Like I was talking, like at the opening of the show today, right? Like people are like, oh, it's great, you get to work with dogs all day. Yesterday, I spent 4 hours breaking concrete with a fucking sledgehammer. Like I didn't train a single dog in the morning. Like all of my employees and me were like, it looked like a fucking CrossFit gym in there for like a bunch of angry tattooed dudes. Like it had nothing to do with dogs. And we like, teamwork makes the dream work. We had to get that shit done, and it had to be done right then. And so, I mean, I tell guys all the time, I was like, this is not romantic. And like, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work like an ugly stripper. And like, it sucks sometimes.
Sometimes vitiligo.
There you go.
I say that because I've met one before. It was interesting. So
of course, did she work for you? Like
no, she was working at the strip club. I was like, yeah, man, you got scales on you, kid. So.
Was her name Shrek? Oh,
it was pretty close. Yeah.
Oh fuck. Oh god.
Real quick, back it up before we move on. The in the third party screeners, I'll let you guys know a little inside info. When this stuff was kicking off, Jason and I were talking a lot, and I was going to work for him. In the beginning, the plan was for every single person who was going to be an evaluator was supposed to go to Lackland and learn how they were going to do everything. But then they decided, at first, we're just going to bring in the company owners and teach them, get that started. And then I remember talking to you while you were there, and you're like, dude, I don't know, man. This isn't really, like 3 companies already quit, like the first week or first few days of the class. And you're like, with the cameras, you told me about the cameras, and they said there's all this stuff. Oh, and by the way, you're not coming to Lackland. We, the owners, have to train all of you guys how to do it. And then it just never happened. I've only ever heard of like 2 companies that are doing evaluations.
Yeah. It's very, and like I said, I've had all the big ones reach out to me, and I've given bids, and, and the thing is, Erica, during that time, it went back and forth it's still going back and forth, right? They're still trying to figure all that out. We'll send them down here, we'll do that. It's just a lot of, it's a lot of uncertainty, and it's not stable business, I only told you, I only advise you that because I have respect for you and your friend. I'm like, I can't put you in a situation that doesn't get any work, that thinking that, hey, I'm going to have some income here when it's not going to happen. Because I could see that, like, man, I don't know about this. And like I said, to this day, I didn't do one certification for any company. Now, and that doesn't mean they didn't ask me, but I gave them. I mean, I know business prices like you guys know business. We know the cost of dogs. We know the cost of certifications. We know the cost of our time is what we know. And I just try to be fair with that. And that wasn't good enough. And in no way, for anybody that I would hire like yourself, if we're going to take you away from your kennels for 2 to 3 days, that comes with a price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we don't want to come off as we're bagging on the program, because I think it's the idea of X number percentage of cargo being screened is amazing. It's a great concept. It's a great thing. If you happen to get to work for some of the companies that are doing it, man, good on you. Let them eat the cost. Don't try to be the company. Let the company.
Yeah, exactly. Let them eat it. Yeah. Let's think about it too. You talk about these guys, Ted. There was a certain amount of qualifications you had to have to get on that list, and I've set some who I thought that had it, and they were pretty picky, and turned them away. About how long have you been certified? How many dogs you certified? What organizations have you certified for? And I want to say that first initial year, there was only 33 people in the United States able to certify dogs for the government.
There's more people that have been on the moon.
Yeah. Now,
put that into perspective.
I'm sure that's changed, but at least that first year, I think about 33 went through, on the initial couple courses they did. And, in ideal, I agree with you, Eric. I mean, I'm an exposed detection guy. All my degrees are in security management, anti-terrorism. I worked overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think everything should be screened. I'm thinking we're missing the boat on a lot of this explosive sweeps on stuff. So I'm okay with sweeping 100% of cargo coming and going. So I'm all down with that. It's just trying to, from a government entity trying to control a civilian entity, those are where they're button heads, and we're just caught in the middle of all that.
Yeah, the problem's always going to be human beings. Always.
And on top of that, like, this industry is not unique to problems like that. So
no,
I think anytime that we have governments intervening with the civilian side, like, shit gets weird. And then there's the propensity for things to go the way that is not intended, which is exactly what's kind of happened. So, like Eric said, I don't want to bag on the program, because we're definitely the biggest advocates for canine, without a doubt, right? And this is not a question of efficacy or anything else, but it is kind of like in the minutia of like how the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and making sure that you're using the right color ink. So
there's a lot of guys out there doing good work, getting job at airports. Like I said, maybe they're making 25, 30 an hour, depends who they work for. I think the guys they have assigned to it down the government, down Lackland, are doing the best they can with what they have. I mean, when I went through my certification, they were great. No problems whatsoever. Where I think it went wrong, and this goes back to this whole topic that you asked me about initially, where I think it went wrong is the government let the companies set the rate and set the pace and set the scale, and they just figure they'll just even themselves out. Well, what if there's some guy retired from Lackland after serving 40 years, and he thought to himself, I'm just going to go out, if they just pay my hotel and pay my I'll just go out there and do it for free. I just want to keep certifying dogs. That's fine. There's nothing in this program to stop them from getting that person who just retired. He's got 40 years, he's got retirement, doesn't care. Just pay my travel and I'll go do it. Now, how does that affect a business guy like me, who's out here trying to make a profit and run a business with employees? I just can't. You can't compete with that. And they did nothing to stop that.
Yeah.
Well, there's conglomerates. There's a whole thing with all that. That's probably why that came. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the world of nonprofit, your nonprofit, everything you've kind of touched on a little bit, but we're going to get into like the ambassadors that you guys have now for the program, and kind of where you went from when we met in 2018. But I'd also like to talk a little bit about the 501c3 process for guys that are like, I see a need in the canine world for this kind of nonprofit. And then we'll go from there. So we'll be right back. All right. We love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower. So they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicek9training.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, the course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpolicek9training.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with the dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs, and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio, for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high-quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him and give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMK9equipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size, maybe for everybody, the colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out. ALMK9equipment.com and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
Running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about, is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue, being able to house dogs and move things around, everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And it comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2-dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's a lot you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. Things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the This is the last segment of this episode with Jason Johnson from K9 Project Hero. So we had the entire second segment talking about for-profit entities, and now we're going to go to no-profit entities. There's a big misconception that nonprofit means no work. We can talk about that too, right? So like every nonprofit, I mean, Eric was involved with one. You've obviously got one. We've had, we have multiple people reach out to us too. Yeah, well, yeah. So we can talk about that in a second. But so I think there's this misconception that like nonprofit is not a way to, I don't want to say it this way, but like generate an income, right? And there's still services are provided. And, generally on our end in the canine industry, nonprofits fill a gap for government deficiencies. So we were just talking about government kind of dropping the ball in the last episode. I feel like we're fucking bagging on the government, which, I mean, I don't know.
It's easy.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can sit here and throw rocks all day, but so they set the price, they set the, like, it's just kind of like a free for all, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In another version of like the government not doing anything at the state level and at the national level too, step in your nonprofit, your main nonprofit, it's Project K9 Hero, right? So the nexus of this whole process is to fill a void where government support stops and government intervention stops, and there still has to be something there. So talk a little bit about Project K9 Hero, and then we'll kind of like bleed into how guys getting out can either you or somebody else. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is nonprofit work is harder than any government work that I've ever done, civilian, police, or military by far. I'm putting in 2 to 3 times as many hours. Back in the first couple of years, guys, the only reason I was contracting because I didn't want to take any money from my organization. So I still tried to do cargo screening. I still try to have my own overseas contracts. I still tried to work for some other companies, supplying dogs, procuring dogs, and doing what I could until we got to the multi-million-dollar mark here. And then I quit doing all that. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. And I'm able to pay myself a salary to run it like a real CEO. And I can tell you that's when we really started to excel. If you don't run your nonprofit like a business, like a for-profit business, you'll never get to where you want to go. And I'll get people bragging me all the time, like, well, we run this nonprofit and nobody takes a salary and we're all volunteers. And I would tell you, I know you guys see all the things that we do out here. I would tell you that if I did that, we would never get to the level we're at, or we'll never get that far, because volunteers are just that. They're volunteers, and you need employees to make things happen for you. For those who don't know, this year we have the K9 Hero Awards that I started to honor 7 dogs in 7 different categories across the United States: patrol, accelerant, narcotics, search and rescue, tracking, trailing, explosive detection. And we had the K9 Flash Legacy Award winner. So that's going to be on GAC Family. I don't have the air date today, but it's going to be on GAC Family this spring. And it's really my way of trying to showcase what these dogs are doing for our communities, because I don't think people know how important they are. what they're doing for our communities. We have the K9 Hero Act that I've been working with Congress the last couple of years. It was actually on the Congress floor, Bill 5081, where we can take some federal grant funding and help pay medical bills directly for federal police canines and military working dogs. So we've been working on that pretty hard. And then we have our rehabilitation rehoming center here that we're working on. So all those things would never happen if I don't have employees that work here, or if I wasn't dedicated to a full-time CEO. And I think this year we're gonna take it to even a more higher level where we can get things done. And so I know we've been really appreciative of that. But I just want people to know, I think it's important to run your nonprofit like a business. Set. I mean, we have a chain of command like a business. We have different roles, responsibilities. Everyone has assignments they need to be doing throughout the day. They have deadlines they need to meet. They have deliverables that I need to see. I wish I could tell you more about this one, but I'm looking at having my own show. It's coming on a major cable network. I can't release the network. It's going to be one you guys are going to be extremely proud of me about. And this show is going to be called Project K9 Hero, and it's going to focus on two of our heroes in every episode. Police K9. Let's just take K9 Chief up in Moses Lake. You guys might know his story. K9 Chief got shot in the face a couple of years ago, about almost 2 years ago. Nick Stewart, his handler, got in pursuit. Subject running on foot, didn't know he had a weapon. Tracking him down, getting pretty close, and he turns from his waistband, turns around and fires a shot at Nick. Chief jumps up, takes it in the face, loses his eye, shatters his jaw. Nick returns fire, neutralizes the subject. Chief gets airlifted Washington State University Hospital, where he almost dies several times. Lives, loses his eye. He's in our program now. Loses his eye, lives. And a few months later, when he was back healthy and everything, was retired. And luckily for his department, his captain reached out to me and asked if this was something we could help with. And I was like, absolutely. This is why we started Project K9 Hero, because now you have a police dog that did the most heroic thing a police dog could do by taking a bullet to its face for its handler. Lives, but Nick's going to be stuck with his bills for the rest of his life, only because, and I don't like we're not the best of government and not these agencies, but there's no programs in place to have funding for him long term. And that's where I really felt the need was with Project K9 Hero. So, we're paying Chief's medical bills for the rest of his life. He has on special food because of his job. We pay that 100% the rest of his life. And that's where people, when they donate to our organization, there's 168 members we've had since 2016. Chief's just one of 168 stories. 20 a season that I'll be broadcasting on our show. So I think the American public's going to love that. I think it's going to help take us to a whole nother level. And I cannot wait for it to start getting out there where everyone can see. But I'm still in some contract things and negotiations that I can't publicly release that yet. But I can say it is coming.
I don't think a lot of folks, till you start talking about, realize. And I realize the cost of like medications for some of these dogs. And I remember,
Sure.
I don't remember if it was the first time you're on, the second time you're on, you were talking about a couple of dogs that were definitely like the handler on a cop salary. There's no way he was going to be able to do that. To
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Can you explain kind of like what some of these guys are looking at money wise?
Absolutely. I mean, and we've seen. Well, let's take the case of K9 Ace down in Houston area, Texas, an SRO officer. Ace is working with his handler. He's out there finding drugs in the school district. I mean, lots of fines, hundreds and thousands of fines, millions of dollars off the street, guns, all kinds of stuff in the schools, right? He's killing it. Comes down with lymphoma, takes it into the vet office there, confirmed they want to start a chemotherapy. I don't know, the first bill is like $7,200.
Yeah, that's super. I was going to say that's super cheap.
Yeah, that's just to get started on everything, right? Now, he's a school resource officer in Houston, Texas. I picked Houston, Texas, because they don't make a ton of money down in that area. And $7,200, well, that's a lot of money for him and his family. He's got a family man, he's got kids, right? We know it's hard for police officers, and specifically military members, to work a second job because, you're on call, you're doing things. You can't just go find another job to pay for this. So they're limited on resources. But we've seen agencies, in this case, this particular chief, and I'm not going to name the agency, but he's been fired since. He backdated that dog's retirement 1 month so they didn't have to pay that bill. And he stuck it with the handler, $7,200. So when he applied for our organization, I was like, man, we're going to help you and we're going to help make this right. And so, of course, we've raised money through Project K9 Hero, and we made it right. And we helped with that dog, Ace. He lived another 2 years with his family. And and that, again, that chief got fired after that. But those are the types of things. That's not the first case I've seen like that happen. But those are the types of things that do happen. And we're, as a former handler, former police officer, and all that, I want to make sure that doesn't happen. And if so, let me be the voice for you. If you can't stand, let me be the national voice. Let me bring this to the public's attention, because two things would happen if we didn't step in. Either A, that handler goes into extreme personal debt and he puts down his credit card and he just makes it happen, and he runs up the bill, or B, that dog goes without. And when I started Project K9 Hero, I didn't want to see either of those things happen. So, that's why we're out here working 100 hours a week, trying to raise money, trying to put more dogs in the program, and try to tell their stories.
We have a local client here that we trained their dog, and we did some like equipment for him and stuff. Super nice people. I have a Rottweiler. He's super sweet. And when I say these people have like FU money, I mean, the husband owns he has the patent for like something to do with like cling wrap type shit. So, I mean, it's right. So the wife was asking me, she was asking me about this, and this is several years ago. And she's like, so when they retire, they get to live with their families, right? I'm like, yeah, most of the time they do, and she's like, and she asked, she was like, well, if they have any health problems, who pays? She's like, the department pays for it. Like they have like a retirement health insurance fund for the dogs. I'm like, shit, they barely have one for the cops. I'm like, what the fuck do you think? I was like, no, they don't have one for the dog. And she's like, well, what happens to him? And she was like super concerned. I'm like, I mean, the handler's family, like they pay for it. I mean, it's their pet now. She's like, well, how do they pay for that? I'm like, well, how do you think they pay for it? And like the look of just utter and like just dissatisfaction, confusion. And she's like, well, why? What, don't they have enough money? I'm like, well, this is a conversation I don't really need to have with somebody that's a fucking billionaire. But I'm like, look, the police departments are weird. And I'm like, I mean, they think it's their money.
Yeah.
So like they think they're like, this guy backdating. And I'm like, taking $7,200 out of his operating fund is not going to kill him. But he acts like it is, like, so.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, and we'd already done your first episode, so I was like, our buddy Jason like runs an organization that does this, and she's like, oh my god, that is so great. So anyway, there's a ton of people in the public that even maybe listening to this, they're like, what do you mean? Like, I understand they get to live with the handler after the fact, but they don't have like health insurance, they don't have benefits. I'm like, no, they don't have that. I mean, shit, even dogs that are working, that are not retired, have their food donated, have healthcare donated by local vets. I mean, like, it's not, I mean, people are like, where are my tax money going? And I was like, I would just want to reference the second portion of this episode where I'm like, it's a stopgap for the government, and it's where they just, I don't know, they failed. So, but which is why we're here having this conversation. So I to this day, I'm still surprised. Maybe it's because of what we do, right? Like we live this all day. So when people are like, when a dog retires, I'm like, hey, before he retires, I'm telling handlers, like, before he retires, go do this and this and this and this and this before he retires, so that your department is not all fucking weird about it. And get all that shit in writing and everything done first, and then be like, oh yeah, now he needs to retire. And that's worked. Like, so it's worked quite a bit, and I don't feel bad about it. I really don't. I'm more concerned about the dog and the handler than I am about the departments. But so Eric.
So listen, Jason, you're a great dude. We really like you, but we know that dogs are the face of the organization, like yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not my face, your face, any other human's faces. So I've noticed a lot lately. You've been bringing on ambassadors, like guys that retired, dogs that retired. Talk about that and kind of how that came about.
Yeah, just to be a national nonprofit and try to work in all 50 states and get your awareness out there, it's all synergy. Go back to what Eric said, it's all who you know, right? And so it's word of mouth. And, some of these guys have great followings. Let's just take K9 Mattis, Alpharetta PD, for example. Mark Tappan, I think he's got 4.5 million followers on TikTok. Mark's a great guy. Mattis does have some health issues in retirement. And, they're out there, trying to spread awareness and talk about, trying to bring the police profession into a likable thing to kids and things. We just had a Performance for Paws charity concert up in Nashville. Mark came up there. I had 22 artists play it. The guys like Daryl Worley, stuff like that. That everybody wanted to come up and get their picture with Madison. It's great. I mean, that's what they talk about, but that's how they also remember who Project K9 Hero is. And if you're not teaming up with, those are like all little spokesmen for us all across the nation. Recently, K9 Duke retired out of Menlo Park PD with Ed over there. Ed was getting moved back to patrol. Is just the weirdest thing. And his chief decided that having a dog as a sergeant on patrol would be a distraction. Nothing wrong with the Duke was doing great. It doesn't even really cost all that much money. He's getting a lot of things donated. He's training. There's really, in my opinion, no reason to retire a Duke at that time, but they decided to do it. And we'll be announcing him here this week as one of our new ambassadors, And, a guy like Duke's got a great following on Instagram. And so it just shows those partnerships. Like, I could sit here and sell apparel all day long, hats, shirts, cups, mugs. And I know you guys got some of our stuff or seen it. That's not going to pay the bills, guys. It's corporate partnerships. It's not going to build my facility here. It's not going to get the TV show, and it's not going to help me pass the K9 Hero Act. I need companies out there who want to associate with helping police canines and military working dogs to reach out to us, to contact us. And believe it or not, we have over 120 corporate partners. Some of them are small companies, some are medium, and some are big. But it's my job as a CEO to keep finding those people. I had a conversation today with one of the, I'll just go ahead and say the largest farm and ranch supply store in America, and looking to maybe partner with them on my TV show. But they have a pet section. They have dog food. Our kennels that we have here are bought from there. Our dog bowls are bought from there. Our water bowls. So these things all make sense to me. And the more people that we can tell about what police canines do and how heroic they are, because what you were saying, Ted, it's the same way. I go talk to Congress all the time now. I'm in DC a lot, and I'm speaking to Congress, and they would say, Jason, I thought we passed a law that the dogs get to come home from overseas. So like, of course we did. That's not the issue. Well, don't they get to stay with their handler? I was like, they usually get the first choice, but sometimes the handler's not available. And then when I get into the medical care of it, they're just kind of lost in, like you were saying, like, I can't believe we don't do that. Well, no, we don't at all. And I need your help to help me fix that. It's a lifelong journey for me. It's a legacy, guys. I mean, I'm in it for the long haul. I could have stayed in the government and made decent money and just went about my business and paid my bills and had a good life. But I've chose to do this instead, and I'm not going to quit until I'm dead or I see it all completed.
So, one thing that, guys listening to this that are kind of like thinking about what they're doing are like, oh, fuck, I got to find something to do to get out once I get out. Right. Cause like Eric retired at like 50, right? And I was told you were like 50. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you ain't dead yet. Plus, you need to work, and you're not going to sit. You're not going to sit still though. Like even like my grandfather tried to retire at like 50, and then tried to retire at 55, and then tried to retire at 65, and he's like, I can only whittle and fish so much. So and then teach me how to build crazy shit in the garage and blow stuff up in cars and whatever else. But he's like, I can only do that so much. So starting a 501, thankfully, is a little bit easier than starting getting a government contract. It's still not like an easy process, but and there's 501s for like everything. And we've had several on the show, and there's stuff for training, there's stuff for actual dogs, and then there's stuff for what you're doing, which is the aftercare of retired dogs and the actual support for the handlers and for the dogs. So talk a little bit about that process. So like if you're listening to this and you're in an area of the country, like, because obviously you have 168 dogs or that you have on the roster. I read some DOJ thing the other day. There's like 31,000 working canines in law enforcement. I think that counts all federal, and it doesn't count military, but it counts all federal and state law enforcement, and they estimated around 31,000. So you're at like 0.5% ish, not even that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to take care of
a ton of room.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of room. I mean, we're just trying to reach the ones that have the special needs or financial burden on their handler. And I have 168, but I have over 200 pending applications right now. I've been getting, on average, some days I'll get 3 or 4 applications in a day, and that's the hardest part of this job, trying to figure out which ones we can help and which ones we can't, and put on a list. And I wish we had all the money in the world to help every one of them, but we can't. There's a lot of room for more nonprofits, like you said. Some go out there and do all different types of things, whether it's Narcan kits, vests, training, all cages, everything, right? I'm so passionate about this particular one because when I studied my background, I watched myself pour my heart and soul into training over 2,000 dogs, and I saw them dying in retirement because no one was there to help them with medical care, which I thought they could have lived. So to me, this is the most important aspect of it. I think sometimes the departments can pay for the cage. I think they can get you a Narcan kit. I think they should get you the vest, but we've yet to get past the laws I want to see passed yet for the aftercare. So there's a lot of room to get out there and branch out. And it doesn't have to be in, necessarily police canines. I'll give you an example. Because I run the Blackwater Alumni Association as well, I'm still associated with a lot of veterans, and I do a lot of veteran speaking. I go to a lot of veteran things. I'm on panels and all this stuff for veteran suicide. So one thing people don't realize is Project K9 Hero not only helps the dog, we help the first responder veteran, because when we pay that bill, we're relieving them of the financial responsibility. Maybe that was their partner, maybe that partner saved their life, but we pay that $5,000. We are helping veteran families and first responder families as well. So that I can appreciate. But a lot of them have service dogs now, right? They have the therapy dogs. They have some dogs that help them with their aid. Well, my program simply takes care of police canines and military working dogs. That's it. I'm really strict about that. But think about all these people who are getting service dogs from VA or these other programs. Who's going to help with their health care when they're out of service for this disabled veteran? I've had a lot of people say, hey, can you help with my, I served in the Army. I was a police officer. In my program, it doesn't matter what you've done, unfortunately. It matters what the dog did. And we're not there to help them. And I've had to turn many people away. I'm just trying to give you a good example of an idea that I thought of, which 100% is not going to be me running a similar organization. But no one's going to be out there to help the service dogs. You just got to think out of the box. You have to find a need. And, I'm giving a need right here over the air for anyone who wants to take this ball and run with it.
I was just going to ask you,
There you go.
When we talked, I was going to say, is there a void that you see that could be filled and guys can race to get that filled? And that's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You guys know it because you're in the business. How many people have these animals? And some of them are 100% disabled vets or whatever. They're not going to have the money. And that emotional connection between them and that dog when they get 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, it's going to be pretty tough on them. And I think there's a need for an agency. It's very similar to Project K9 Hero, but instead of helping police canines and military working dogs, you're going to help service animals for veterans. I see all these huge the one's bigger than mine, doing 20 million a year, helping with service dogs for veterans. I think that's great, but I'm more concerned about the dogs themselves. That's why I'm very passionate about what our mission is. I would never change that, but I think there's a need right there that I'm putting out there that somebody could take the ball and be just as successful as we are, if not more, because there's going to be a lot of those guys out there needing help.
So before we wrap it up, I'm a guy getting ready to retire. I'm listening to this episode. I get a hold of you and I say, Jason, I don't know how to start a 501c3. How, I'm a grunt. What do I do? Because guys are nervous about that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, everything can be taught, right? I mean, it just takes some time to learn what the process is. But it's fairly simple, but it's fairly complicated. But the first thing you want to do is probably get a good CPA lawyer that can help you draft your articles of incorporation and your bylaws. You need to do that within one state. So you got to pick a state, whatever state you want to be in, and get that drafted up and apply within that state. Within those article of corporations, you're going to need a board. Most states, you're going to need a minimum of 3 people. So you're going to need 2 other people, one to be your treasurer, one to be your secretary, people you can trust. It's very important. You need to know what your mission statement is, your goals, your vision. All those things, you're going to put that down. And then, you can get all that filed, and you need to file with the federal IRS, get that in. Once you get that EIN number, once you get that off, you can legally start taking in money. But then you have to register. If you're going to solicit money out of that state, you have to register in all the other states. We're registered in every state in America. That costs us a lot of money. Some aren't. But, we do a direct mail program, and I put that all out there. Then you got to worry about your logo and your trademarks and your website and your emails. And, looking back, guys, if I was to start all over, as much time as I put into this, I can't even put a number on it. But, it's my passion. The point is, it can be done. You just got to get out there and learn the steps. This initial paperwork just to become a legal entity, maybe $1,000, give or take. You could get on one of those websites and do it yourself for a few hundred. But I knew when I built this that I was going to take it to a multi-million-dollar organization. So I wanted to make sure it was done right. And, I've probably exceeded some of my goals. I never thought I'd have my own act in Congress. I didn't think I'd ever have my own national award show coming on TV. And now we're going to have our own cable television show that might, end up on a Netflix or in 180 countries around the world. And just to get, I can say a little something else here just to get you guys excited about this or people listening. My business partner on my television show created The Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan, all 10 seasons. He's executive producer. Now, while I'm not saying that's the best dog trainer in the world, that was a successful show. Me and him are partners on my show, Project K9 Hero, and we're going to tell real life stories of these dogs. So you can imagine my amount of excitement that I have when I bring this gentleman who's been in the business for 40 years with that amount of success. They licensed 100 products. They had 5 New York Times bestsellers. They were viewed in 180 countries. It's still playing on TV now in so many, like 80 countries. So I've got some big dreams.
It's part of pop culture. The whatever whisperer, the cat whisperer, the horse whisperer, the beard whisperer, which is Ted.
There's a fantastic Instagram account that used to be called the Slut Whisperer, which is the guy from.
I missed that one.
Kirill Forever. It's the Assholes Live Forever guy. If you've ever seen, go look it up. It's Linda Feingold. Go look it up.
Good news. The great thing about our show when it comes out here, guys, is it's not about dog training. It's not about any of that. It's a true life story, like I told you about Chief. It's just a reenactment of that. You interview the handler, you interview the people on patrol with him that day, you interview the vet, the people who drove the helicopter and the airlift, what we're doing for him right now to help save him in retirement, what people can do for us so we can help save more like him. And that's what I'm trying to put out there to the world.
If you need any tattooed actors, Ted and I could jump in and we could be thug number 1, thug number 2.
Yeah.
Dirtbag at the liquor store. Something.
Shithead 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's funny.
So tell everybody, social media, website, everything, where they can donate, where they can see, where they can follow you, what's going on, and keep up with you.
Yeah, so if you haven't visited yet, we're projectk9hero.org. We got all kinds of stuff on there. You can read the stories of the heroes. You can read about our K9 Hero Awards, our K9 Hero Act, the rehabilitation rehoming center we're building here, which is amazing. But more importantly, we got a lot of things on there that you can buy apparel-wise. I have children's books out that I've written about my partner Flash that are big hits. And we have a way to donate right there on that button. So that's projectk9hero.org. We've grown our accounts. You guys know how to grow on social media. We got about 200,000 followers combined now, which is pretty decent for a K9 organization. We have a great Facebook account. We do a lot of lives on there. So we're at Project K9 Hero. Instagram, the same, and Twitter as well. Me personally, I'm on LinkedIn. I think I got about 26,000 followers on my personal page on LinkedIn. I do a lot of business stuff on there. At LinkedIn, you'll find me at Jason Johnson, Project K9 Hero. And let me say this for those people, because I think this is important to these guys getting out of the military, getting out of the police, they don't really think about this when they're still in. But I can tell you, I've got more business development deals on my LinkedIn account. I get on there, I post professional stuff, I post positive stuff, I post what I'm doing every day, and I get people on there giving me business deals like, hey, I got a product coming out on Shark Tank. Could you come be my charity partner? And my logo was at every Petco in America, for 6 months on the shelves at the register, you know what I mean? And there's people wanting to get involved. I've gotten so many opportunities from LinkedIn. I think veterans and police officers underestimate that tool. And I think just keeping your social media clean, if you're trying to get into this business, don't be out there bashing anybody. It's a small world, especially in this canine business. It is a small world, and you never know who that person is going to be hiring you or going to be looking at you for a job. So, kind of clean that stuff up and keep it professional, keep it out there, let people know what your goals are. And I think the biggest key for success in this entire business is just hard work. If you work hard, good things will come your way.
Ted, are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I am. I don't use it as much, but I am on there. I should use it as much.
I had joined it a while ago, and I need to get back in it because I stopped using it because years ago it started turning into Facebook, and I was like, man, you're not even on here talking about business. You're talking about some bullshit. And so I stopped, and then people were like, yeah, dude, all that stuff passed away.
That was my
and
problem.
Yeah,
it's
there's
now
still-
business.
There's, you know, make sure you build your network with people within your business or the business you want to be in. And those people, I've just gotten so many opportunities because of that platform. I just think it's underrated and I'm talking about, because we're talking about people who want to get out of their military or government service or police service and go do something. It's widely important, widely.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Morris from Tripwire said the same thing about it. I was talking to him, it's been a couple months ago, but he was saying the same thing about it, like the new version. He was like, dude, I do so much business on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I do.
I'm like, so
yeah, I need to get us on there. So
Ted,
Ted,
you can use Facebook for memes. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And then Instagram. Speaking of which, Instagram, it's Ted_Summers and Torchlight Canine and Torchlight Pets. That's where I put all the like all the working dog, like professional stuff. I am on Facebook, but I put working dog stuff, but it's mainly music and memes. And then of course we have working_dog_radio for the podcast, and then HRD Police K9. We just shored up another HRD in Bend, Oregon in early June. I think the 6th or the 8th. That was today. So we just go back from San Francisco and I'm heading back there. And then I've got one in Louisiana. And then we're going to Blue Line and HITS. So yeah, we're rock and roll. We're going to be instructing both, and we're going to be doing interviews and I'm sure heckling or being heckled.
Mm-hmm.
One or the other, maybe both. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. What about you?
workingdogradio.com. Guys, we have a ton of merchandise on there, really good stuff.
We got new shirts, or we're gonna have new shirts.
Yeah, we came up with a couple of ideas for
Uh-huh.
some new shirts. Everybody always likes the stuff we put out there. You got to go check out our President series in there. There's some really good stuff in there. Van S K9 on Instagram, Van S K9 Academy on Facebook. I have those two linked up now, so if I post on Instagram, it posts on Facebook. So you only need to really go to one. Ridgeside K9 Ohio for pet stuff, if you care about anything like that. And that is it. VanSK9.com is the website. If you're looking for police dog pricing for me and everything, you just go there. It's all listed in there. So, Jason, we're going to see you at some of these conferences.
You know, guys, I stopped doing them the last couple of years ago, and you know, I've been going to conferences. There's been a little bit bigger ones, more broad scope.
Oh, okay.
I think you know, the police and the police canine guys and the military working guys, they're kind of more my customers, people we serve, but they're not my corporate partners. As far as a lot of the business, they're friends of mine, but I'm looking at your Home Depots, I'm looking at your Tractor Supply Company, I'm looking at Petco. You know, I'm trying to get into that level that is going to help us put us to another level. So while I think they're important for the community, unfortunately, my time is a little bit better spent public speaking at some of the larger things that I've been doing, and we're speaking to Congress and stuff. So I would encourage people to go and do it. It's just unless I just want to go have a good time and hang out with you guys, there's not a lot of business development for me to have there anymore.
Well, I like the fact that you now joined the 3-time member club of the Working Dog Radio podcast.
What I joined?
You didn't join shit. It's a fake club.
I just wonder who else was on it.
Who? Rigney?
Rigney. I think Bradshaw.
Maybe I don't remember. There's been a bunch. Not a bunch.
Maybe.
It's like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
So it's you know,
It's
up there,
exclusive.
rarefied air. So.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But this is a great episode, man. I really appreciate you coming on, spinning
thanks,
some
guys.
knowledge and talking about Project K9 Hero. Guys, check it out, projectk9hero.org. Get on there, click that button, help these guys out. It's one of the best causes I've ever heard of. So until the next one, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.